Hey everybody, I'm going to be going over chapter 4, which is communicating for success. And this is a pretty important chapter. Some of the things that you need to focus on and we're going to learn about are how to take practical steps for effective communication in the workplace, how to conduct a successful client consultation, how to manage tardy clients, schedule mix-ups, and unhappy clients, and how to build open lines of communication with your coworkers. So effective communication is going to be the building block for all your long-lasting relationships with your clients and your coworkers. And good communication also helps with good client consultations, which are the foundation for a good service. You have to be able to have that good communication with your client in order to deliver what it is that they want and what they're expecting. Um, Effective communication fosters a team environment in the salon. You all want to make sure that you're working together to promote the salon and have a successful workplace. You're going to be able to sell more products and services if you can communicate their features and benefits more effectively. And you want your clients to enjoy their experience. So effective communication is going to be an important part of that. And you also want to advance in your career. So being able to express your ideas um, is necessary for career advancement. So again, building long-lasting relationships, accelerating your professional growth, and promoting a positive work environment are key in your career, and it takes successful, good communication skills to do that. So we we have to practice these things. They don't just come naturally all the time. And the biggest part of successful professional communication is being able to respond instead of reacting. I know we've all had situations where somebody may have said something or done something, and we had that gut reaction where we just wanted to, you know, tear into them, and we can't do that in a professional environment. So we want to make sure that you allow yourself adequate time to think through a situation and find a good way to respond to it rather than just reacting to what is happening. One way to make sure is just check yourself often. Check your own temperament. Make sure that you're projecting a positive attitude all the time when you're in the salon, which is it's easier said than done. It takes practice, so you have to have that positive um, temperament in order to be able to diffuse things and come up with solutions to problems rather than escalating a problem in the salon. Trust your judgment, believing in yourself, trusting your judgment, sticking to what you know is right is a big part of that as well. An example of that is, there was a client would come into the salon and want her hair bleached. Well, her hair was fragile, so it was not a good idea to bleach her hair. It would have caused her hair to break, to melt, it would have been awful. And that would have fallen back on the stylist if that service didn't go as expected. So you have to be able to communicate that, no, I'm not going to do this service. This is why. And I'm actually looking out for your best interest as well. And being able to communicate that effectively is going to help you maintain that client, keep that client, so she doesn't just go down the road and let somebody else melt their hair off. So we want to, like I said, stick with what you know is right. Don't do something just because a client insists on it. Do what you know is right professionally with that client. Um, Effective communication requires that you listen. So you want to listen more than you talk. There's a reason we have two ears and one mouth. And you have to be attentive. And being attentive means giving someone your undivided attention. And this is extremely important, especially during the client consultation. You have to listen to what they're telling you. You can give someone the best hairstyle or hair color or cut, but if it's not what they wanted and it's not what they tried to communicate to you, then you have failed in your service and they're not going to be happy. So make sure that you are actually listening and you're being attentive and giving them your undivided attention when you're talking with your clients. Just like we learned in kindergarten, the golden rule: treat people as you want to be treated. Make sure that you're projecting a professional manner all the time. Smile a lot. And some people hate to be told to smile, but when you smile at people, it puts them at ease. It makes them feel welcome and comfortable, which is what you want for your clients. So smile often. Be aware of your body language. Communication is not just the words that come out of your mouth. Um, don't be intimidating, but be relaxed and professional and inviting when you're working with a client. Um, Remember, listening is what's going to build that relationship with your client. Try to, when you speak, try to speak clearly and loudly enough that your client can hear you. Sometimes in salons, there's blow dryers going. Some people don't hear very well. Make sure you're not mumbling. Someone that can't hear you very well is not going to ask you to repeat yourself 4 times. After they've asked you to repeat yourself and they still can't hear you, eventually they're just going to start nodding their head. So make sure that you're not mumbling, that you're using correct, proper English, that you're not using slang, and that they can hear you clearly when you're talking to them. When we talk about communication, it's not just the words that come out of your mouth. It's the way you say what you're saying. Your facial expressions, your body language, the tone of your voice, the inflection on words, all have a part in that. I can say the same thing different ways and have different meanings. I can say, "Oh my gosh, that's so pretty. That's pretty." Or I can say, "That's pretty." And they're going to have 2 completely different meanings. So your facial expressions, your body language, and how you say what you say is just as, if not more important than the words that you use. So when you meet a client, that is one of the most important encounter you're going to have with that client is your first time meeting with them. So you always want to be polite, be genuinely friendly, inviting, introduce yourself to them. Make sure that you're projecting a positive professional image when you're speaking with them, and make them feel comfortable in the environment. Go around and introduce them to other people in the salon that they may get services from. You may want to introduce them to the receptionist. This is Sally, our receptionist, and this is Natalie, our nail technician, and this is Jackie, our esthetician. She does great facials. You might want to think about getting a service from her. Just make her feel, or him or her, feel comfortable in the environment. And the more people you feel like you know in that environment, the more comfortable you're going to be. So when doing consultations, excuse me, a lot of times salons will use what's called an intake form. So a lot of hair salons don't use intake forms that much anymore, but if someone's getting nail services or especially skincare services, there's going to be an intake form, especially for skincare services. And on that intake form, if it's the first time the client comes to the salon, you're going to ask them to fill this out. And it's going to have general information on there, like their name, their address, their phone number. But it's also going to ask them about, what products do you use at home? What are your preferences? What's your lifestyle like? Are you active? Things like that. It'll also ask about what medications people take. It'll ask if they have any known medical issues like diabetes, high blood pressure. It'll ask them about allergies, any skin or scalp disorders they may have, and that's all important information. If someone has a nut allergy, we don't want to use products that have almond or macadamia nut oil in them? So these are pretty important questions to be asking, especially if it's their first time in the salon. You need to know about your client. Another form that you're going to be using in the salon is a service record card, and that's a completely different form. The service record card is just for your eyes. It's for the stylist eyes only. And what is on that card is when they came in for their service, what was done, what formulas were used, what the result of that service was, and what products were recommended, and also what other services were recommended to that client. And it's really important that you maintain that information. Some salons have electronic client records where they use software in their computer to keep track of that. Others still use the old-fashioned way where they may have a binder and have all their clients put in there alphabetically. Either way is fine. You just need to make sure that you have a record of all the services that you've done. And products that you recommended, even if they didn't purchase those products. They may come in for their service that week and you recommend some products and they be like, oh, I'd really like to get it, but my budget's really tight this week. Maybe I'll come back next week and get it. And if they come back next week, you want to be able to know what you recommended when they come in. So you're like, oh, I want to get that shampoo you told me to get. Well, hang on just a second. I'll be right back. And I'm going to go look at what I recommended because I might remember, I might not. I may have seen 50 clients since I saw them last. And this also helps your receptionist. If you've got a receptionist in the salon, they can go look it up and pull those products for your client. So service record cards are really important. So if somebody is coming in for their very first appointment, you want to advise them to come in about 15 minutes early. A consultation should not take more than 15 minutes. If it takes more than 15 minutes, that client has no idea what they want. And it's going to be very difficult to make them happy. But if they have if your salon has a intake form, have them fill that out and then review it with them. So your client consultation is going to determine your client's needs and how you're going to achieve those results is basically what it is. So you want to prepare for that consultation for your client. And you want to have things around like pictures of your work, like a portfolio. You might have a tablet with everything online. You may have an actual book they can look at. You want to have maybe some swatch books. You also want to make sure that the area you're going to be conducting the consultation in is clean, that there's a mirror available. A lot of times the consultation will happen at the stylist chair. Other times salons will have an actual consultation area. Some salons will set it up near a window so that there's good natural lighting when they're doing the consultation. But you want it to be clean, uncluttered, and have pictures and color swatches and things like that available for the consultation. So in your book, it talks about a 10-step consultation. And these are just steps to kind of follow to make sure that you're keeping on track with your consultation. So if you use an intake form, review that. If not, you need to ask some critical questions like allergies, medications, things like that. And then you're going to perform a needs assessment, which is going to consist of the client telling you what they want and what they need. Okay? They come in, I need a haircut. I need something that's easy to style or easy to maintain, or they may even come in with a picture and say, this is what I want, or I want something really similar to that. So that's going to help you determine the client's preferences. You're going to ask questions, say, what do you like about this? What don't you like about this? They may like the front of one picture and the back of another picture. So you're going to look at all that. At the same time, you're going to be analyzing their hair. So, always ask their permission to put your hands in their hair, but you're going to go through their hair, you're going to feel it, you're going to analyze the curl pattern, the texture, the porosity of their hair, the elasticity of their hair, and we'll get into all of that when we get into trichology in chapter 11. But you're going to be analyzing their hair, which is what you have to work with. So you're going to be, looking at their hair and their preferences. And if they've got super curly hair and they're showing you a picture of a hairstyle that is straight, that may mean that you need to give them a texture service. Or if they're not willing to do that, you might need to recommend a different style for them. So you're going to be talking back and forth. You're also going to talk about their lifestyle. If somebody works a full-time job and they've got 2 small children at home, they're not going to want a hairstyle that takes them an hour every morning to style. So talking about their lifestyle is really important as well. Show them pictures. Come up kind of with an agreement of what you're going to do and how you're going to go about doing it. Sometimes, especially with color, it may be a more than one service kind of thing. So if somebody was to come in like me with red hair and they want to be blonde, that's not going to happen in one day. So you need to talk about that and say, okay, this is our goal and this is how we're going to get there. And it's going to take us 2 months to get there and still keep your hair healthy. So we're discussing all of that. You want to discuss upkeep and maintenance. So if I go for an all over color, I need to understand that the maintenance of that, it means I'm going to have to come back in and get my roots done every 4 to 6 weeks. And I also need to discuss the cost of that. A lot of people are really uncomfortable talking about money, but you need to get very comfortable talking about money, because the worst thing that can happen is somebody come in, you do their hair, they love it, and then their jaw drops when you take them to check them out at the end of the service and they realize how much it's costing. It could be a lot more than they had budgeted for, and it may be the end of your relationship with that client, which is something you don't want. So during the consultation, you need to discuss the price of what they want so there are no surprises in the end. Review the consultation. Come to an agreement. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. It's going to take this many visits or one visit, and this is what it's going to cost to get the client to agree with you, and then you can proceed with the service. So you want to spend that time really understanding your client, because you can give the best service in the world, but if it's not what they were expecting, you're not going to have a happy client. Another area where we need to communicate is not just at the beginning of the service, but at the end of the service. Concluding a service. A lot of times people don't think about that as much. But at the end of the service, you want to make sure, one, you record on their service card what you did, what the results are, what was used. And you kind of put notes in there about anything that you would definitely do again or anything that you need to change for next time. Note the final results. Note any retail products that were recommended or purchased, and make sure it's filed in the proper place. At the end of the service, one thing a lot of people forget to do is ask them to go ahead and book their next appointment. That is how a stylist keeps her book full, and a full book equals making money and paying your bills. So before a client ever leaves the salon, invite them to go ahead and make their appointment. If they're coming in for an all over color and you know they're going to need to come back in 5 weeks and get those roots touched up, ask them, would you like to go ahead and make your appointment for 5 weeks to get your roots touched up? And most of the time they'll go ahead and make that appointment so they have it, and just offer it to them. Say, hey, I know you prefer to come in on Tuesdays. Do you want to go ahead and make your appointment so you get your preferred appointment time and day? It's okay if they decide not to go ahead and make their appointment, but offer it. It's going to help keep your book full. Okay, so then there are also barriers to communication. There's things like appointment time and day mix-ups. There's tardy clients. There's unhappy clients. And we have to deal with those all in a professional manner. So handling a client who's late for an appointment. If a client is just a couple minutes late for an appointment, it's usually no big deal. But if somebody is 15 or 20 minutes late for an appointment, it can mess up the rest of your day. It can push your appointments back for the rest of the day, and now you're late for the appointment you had scheduled after them. So you need to make sure that your salon has a clear uh, scheduling and appointment policy. Okay, so you need to have a salon policy with this that you can stick to. Um, so you will have, clients that, you know, let's say they're 30 minutes late and you have another appointment coming in 30 minutes. You only booked an hour for them and they've just lost half of it. And you don't want the rest of your clients for the day to be upset because you're late. You need to ask that client to reschedule. Say, listen, I know, things happen. You're 30 minutes late for your appointment. I can't take you today for the service you wanted. Maybe I can cut the service short, give them a haircut, but not blow dry it. Most of the time, that's not preferable. But give them some options, or just plain out ask them, say, hey, I need you to reschedule because I can't make my other clients late. And you will have those people that understand and those that don't, but you have to stick to your policy. You also have clients that are habitually late. They are late every single time they have an appointment. And these clients will make you crazy if you don't stick to your guns with them. So if you have a client that has been late several times and you kind of labeled them as, okay, they're my late client, have a discussion with them when you book their next appointment and ask them to schedule for your last appointment of the day. And just say, listen, I understand it's really hard for you to get here during your appointment time. Let's schedule you for my last appointment of the day. That way, if you're a few minutes late, it'll be no big deal. If they're not willing to do that, tell them to be there ahead of their appointment. If their appointment is at 9:30, tell them to be there at 9:15. That way you've got that little bit of buffer. If they've made you wait 10 times and they actually show up on time that day, it'll be okay if they have to wait 10 minutes because they got there a little bit early. But 9 times out of 10, that's not going to happen. So just either ask them to be there earlier than their actually appointment time or have them scheduled for the last appointment of the day. Scheduling mix-ups happen too. It'll happen where somebody has an appointment on Tuesday and they thought it was Thursday. They missed their appointment on Tuesday. They show up on Thursday at 10 o'clock thinking that's their appointment time, and you don't have them in the book. You may make a mistake and put them down on the wrong day or the wrong time. So things like that happen. To handle those situations, just remember to always be polite and never argue about whose fault it is. Focus on a solution to the problem rather than, oh, well, you got the day wrong or you got the day wrong. Just try to find a solution to the problem and focus on that instead. So, check the appointment calendar, explain what happened, reschedule the appointment, remain detached. If somebody gets upset, try not to take it too personally, okay? Like I said, move the conversation to a resolution rather than arguing. Never let them pull you into an argument. Do everything you can to keep it professional and just make another appointment for the client. I'm so sorry this happened. Let's go ahead and get you rescheduled. And then make sure when you do reschedule that you have their phone number so that appointment can be confirmed, and have yourself or your receptionist confirm the appointment at least a day ahead. That way you're kind of covering yourself to make sure nothing happens again with them. You're also going to have to communicate with clients that are unhappy. You can try the best you can. You can be the best hairstylist in the world, but you can never satisfy 100% of the people all the time. There will be clients that are not happy with what you did to their hair. So first you need to find out why they're unhappy. Ask specifics. Is it too dark? Is it too light? Is it too short? Is it too long? What exactly is it that you don't like? And then, if possible, make that change right then. Fix it right then if you can. Um, if it can't be fixed, honestly and tactfully explain why. If it's too short, I can't fix that. I can't, make it grow instantly. Um, but maybe have them, offer them something, another appointment for a conditioning, or just do what you can to make them happy, if at all possible. Um, Offer other options to minimize the client's disappointment. If it's too dark, but it's the exact color they asked for, they just don't like it on their skin tone, maybe throw in a few highlights to help balance it out. But never force your opinion on somebody. Um, if somebody doesn't like something, you can't convince them that they do. You may think it looks beautiful and it's the best work you've ever done and you love it, but they don't. They're the one that has to look in the mirror each day. So never force your opinion on somebody. Be open, don't argue, and do what you can to resolve the problem. That way you can keep the client instead of losing them. Sometimes we have differences with clients because we just don't understand them. There are people with age differences and cultural differences that we may misinterpret, and they may misinterpret us. So, doing things like not using slang. I use slang every day in my private life, but in the salon, you'd want to try to avoid that because things have different meanings and different age groups and different cultures, and you don't want anything to be misconstrued for something that you didn't mean it to be. So don't try not to use slang. Try to use proper English. Like, don't say yeah, say yes. Um, Say please and thank you. Use your home training. Use your manners when you're talking with people. Keep the topics of conversation professional. Try to avoid topics of religion and politics. People are very passionate about those two subjects, and you're not going to change their mind about it, and they're not going to change your mind about it. So try to avoid those topics in the salon. There's a time and a place for those topics, but this is a place people come to relax and feel good about themselves. So try to, turn the conversation. This politician did that and they're awful. So, you know what? I hear you. But did you see their wife's hair? I love that hairstyle. Turn it to something with the beauty industry. Try to maintain that type of topics when they come in the salon. Ask people how they want to be addressed. You may address somebody as Mr. or Miss or Mrs. Someone may be offended at being called ma'am. I know I'm from the South. I was raised to say yes, sir, yes, ma'am. But you will have clients that think that is a ageist remark. They may think you're calling them old by calling them ma'am. So I pretty much ask people how they'd like to be addressed. I may say, would you like me to call you Miss Smith? They may say yes, or they may say no, call me Peggy. And then I'll be like, okay, Peggy. So find out how people want to be addressed, and that'll keep your life a lot easier. And just be careful about the verbiage you use, what words you use. So when in doubt, ask. Maintain your professional demeanor. Avoid using slang. Never use words that you don't fully understand. A lot of slang words you may think have one meaning and somebody else thinks they have another meaning. If you're not understanding what a client is telling you, ask for further explanation if they're using something you don't understand. So you get a clear understanding. The last thing you want is that miscommunication to happen. When you're talking with your clients, you're going to be doing a service. Maybe it takes 45 minutes to an hour to work with this client to get their service done. Sometimes your client's going to want to sit there and just relax and not talk. Let them. You may have a client sitting in your chair that's really chatty and wants to talk. That's great. Talk with them. but make sure you keep those topics neutral. Concentrate on their beauty needs. Um, don't share your personal life. Don't get too personal. Don't share your personal life. They really don't want to hear about your woes. Um, and you're not their counselor, their their career guide. You're not a parental sounding board. You're not a motivational coach. You are a hairstylist. It's great to sit there and listen and be empathetic, but at the same time, try to turn, maybe what is the newest trend in, you know, hairstyles, or what's the newest trend in makeup. Talk about things in the beauty industry with them. Talk about celebrities and what they're doing with their style. That's always one that you can kind of follow with. And this is a Diet Coke, by the way, if anybody's wondering. All right. So other people you're going to communicate with in your salon are going to be your coworkers, your peers. You're also going to be talking with supervisors or managers or salon owners, and you want to make sure that you have meaningful communication whenever possible with those people. Treat everybody with respect. Remain objective. Don't pick sides. Try to be neutral. Be honest, but sensitive. Avoid gossip. When you have a communication issue you're not really sure how to handle, go to somebody you respect. Go to a mentor or a peer that you respect and ask them how would they handle this situation, and ask for advice. Somebody that's been in the industry a little bit longer than you have. But most importantly, keep your private life private. You need to set those professional boundaries with your coworkers and your clients especially. Your clients are not your friends. That's how you support yourself. That is your income. They're not your friends. Your friends want their hair done for free. Your clients pay for it. Keep those boundaries in place. When you're talking to a supervisor or a manager, be a problem solver. The worst thing you can do is just complain about something. You know what? We're always running out of shampoo at the back bar. Instead of complaining about it, be a problem solver and go to your manager or your supervisor and say, I've noticed that we're consistently running out of products in the back bar. Maybe we could put, a system in place where we keep an unopened bottle behind the open one. That way, when that first one gets empty, we can just switch the pump and put it in the other one. And that way, if we have two up there all the time, we're not running out and wasting time. Have a solution to whatever the problem it is. Make sure you get your facts straight. Always be honest, and don't gossip and don't complain. Everybody, I'm sure, if you've been in the workforce or if you're right out of high school and you've never had a job before, you're going to have employee evaluations if you work for someone else. And you need to be open to constructive criticism. Employee evaluations are not just there to tell you what you're doing wrong. They're there to help you, offer you constructive ways that you can improve what you're doing and take what you're doing right and make it even better. So try to keep that attitude when you're going into an evaluation, or even when your teacher is evaluating your work. We're not there to put you down. We're there to show you how you can keep doing what you're doing, but better. And in this industry, you constantly have to be improving if you want to have any longevity in this industry. So before you have a meeting with your manager or your supervisor or the salon owner, kind of do a self-evaluation and write down some things that you can share with them as you're going, through your evaluation. After you've had your evaluation, thank your manager for their feedback and guidance that they're trying to give you. So, in review or in summary, in cosmetology, communication is key. You can learn you can learn the technical skills, but you have to have what people refer to as soft skills, that interpersonal, exchange that we have with people is what's going to make you successful or not. There is a hairstylist on every single corner, but people are going to come back to you not only because you can do their hair and they like it, and somebody else can do their hair and they like it, but they have to kind of like you. They have to enjoy the experience they had with you while they were there. So if you're friendly and inviting and clear in your communication, you can ensure that happens. So some questions I want you to ponder as you're studying the chapter is, the golden rules of communication. What are they? What is the definition of effective communication? What are the 10 steps of the 10-step consultation? How should I handle an unhappy client? And kind of think about at least 4 points in that. And 5 things to remember when you're communicating with your coworkers. Those are the things I want you to think about. And when I say 5 things to remember when you're communicating, I'm going to give you a couple. Keep your private life private. Treat everyone with respect. Remain objective. Be honest. Avoid gossip. Those are a few. Y'all add to that. Okay? So, happy studying, and we'll talk to you later.